the original personality of Godhead. But in order to create, maintain, and annihilate this cosmic manifestation, I act through my material energy. And according to the different grades of activity, my representations are differently named. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. As explained in Bhagavad Gita 7.5, Jiva Bhutam Mahabaho, the whole world is energy released from the Supreme Source, the personality of Godhead, who is further stated in Bhagavad Gita, acts in superior energies and inferior energies. The superior energy is the living entity, who is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. As parts and parcels, the living entities are not different from the Supreme Lord. The energy emanated from Him is not different from Him. But in the actual activity of this material world, the living entity is under the different qualities of material energy and in different forms. There are 8,400,000 life forms. The same living entity acts under the influence of the different qualities of material nature. The entities have different bodies, but originally, in the beginning of creation, Lord Vishnu is alone. For the purpose of creation, Brahma is manifested, and for annihilation, there is Lord Shiva. As far as the spiritual entrance into the material world is concerned, all beings are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But under the covering of different material qualities, they have different names. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are qualitative incarnations of Vishnu as guna avatars, and Vishnu with them accepts control of the quality of goodness. Therefore, he is also a qualitative incarnation like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Actually, the different names exist for different directions, otherwise the origin is one only. Okay, so all these great personalities come from one source. And what is that one source? That is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But they have different names and different energies and different energies. Yeah. Text 52. The Lord continued, one who is not in proper knowledge thinks that demigods like Brahma and Shiva are independent, or he even thinks that the living entities are independent. Purports by Srila Prabhupada. The living entities, including Brahma, are not independently separated, but are counted within the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, being the super soul in every living entity, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, is directing everyone in the activities of the material modes of nature. No one can act independently of the sanction of the Lord. Therefore, indirectly, no one is different from the Supreme Person. Certainly not Brahma and Rudra, who are incarnations of the material nature's modes of passion and ignorance. So this is the philosophy of Achintya Veda Abheda Tattva. At one time, everyone is one and different. So no one is different from the Supreme Person. There it is. Certainly not Brahma and Rudra, who are incarnations of the material modes of the material nature's modes of passion and ignorance. Text 53. A person with average intelligence does not think the head and the other parts of the body to be separate. Similarly, my devotee does not differentiate Vishnu, the all-pervading personality Godhead, from anything or any living entity. Ah, very nice verse. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Whenever there is disease in any part of the body, the whole body takes care of the ailing part. Similarly, a devotee's oneness is manifested by his compassion for all conditioned souls. Bhagavad Gita 5:18 says, Pandita Samadarshina, those who are learned see everyone's conditional life equally. Devotees are compassionate to every conditioned soul, and therefore they are known as aparakya buddhi, because devotees are learned and know that every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. They preach Krishna consciousness to everyone so that everyone may be happy. If a particular part of the body is diseased, the whole attention of the body goes to that part. Similarly, devotees care for any person who is forgetful of Krishna and therefore in material consciousness. The equal vision of the devotee is that he works to get all living entities back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Hare. Text 54. The Lord continued, one who does not consider Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, or the living entities in general to be separate from the Supreme, and who knows Brahman actually realizes peace, others do not. Let me read that again. The Lord continued, one who does not consider Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, or the living entities in general to be separate from the Supreme Lord, and who knows Brahman actually realizes peace, others do not. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Two words are very significant in this verse. Trayanam indicates three, namely Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu. Vidam means different. They are three, and therefore they are separate. But at the same time, they are one. This is the philosophy of simultaneous oneness and difference, which is called achintya beta abeta tattva. The example given in the Brahma Samhita is that milk and yogurt are simultaneously one and different. Both are milk. It is the milk and let's see. Both are milk, but the yogurt has become changed. In order to achieve real peace, one should see everything and every living entity, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, as non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one, sorry, the example given in the Brahma Samhita is that milk and yogurt are simultaneously one and different. Both are milk, but the yogurt has become changed in order to achieve real peace. One should see everything and every living entity, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, as non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is independent. Every one of us is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This accounts for unity in diversity. There are diverse manifestations, but at the same time, they are one in Vishnu. Everything is an expansion of Vishnu's energy. Okay, so that's a perfect explanation of achintya beta abeta tattva. Simultaneous oneness and difference. So if you want to know what it means, you have to read Canto 4, Chapter 7, verse number 54. You have a perfect, simple explanation of Achintya Veda Veda Tattva. And the example is given in the Brahma Samhita that milk and yogurt are simultaneously one and different. Both are milk, but the yogurt has become changed. In order to achieve real peace, one should see everything and every living entity, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, as non-different from the Supreme Personality Godhead. No one is independent. Every one of us is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This accounts for unity and diversity, or Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, or unity and diversity. There are diverse manifestations, but at the same time, they are one in Vishnu. Everything is an expansion of Vishnu's energy. Okay, well, this is a very important verse that explains the most complicated issue, but in very simple English so that everyone can understand. So the definition of Achintya Veda Veda Tattva is given here. And then the example of milk and yogurt. They are simultaneously one and different. Both the milk and the yogurt are milk, but the yogurt has become changed. In order to achieve real peace, one should see everything and every living entity, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, as non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is independent. Every one of us is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This accounts for unity and diversity of the unity and diversity. There are diverse manifestations, but at the same time, they are one in Vishnu. Everything is an expansion of Vishnu's energy. So, whatever we see in the material world, it is simultaneously one and different. So, you can see mountains and you can also see flat lands. But at the same time, they are one and different. So, how is that? Well, the mountain is made of the same kind of material as the earth or the flat earth. So it is one and different. Okay, so text 55. The sage Maitreya said, thus Daksha, the head of all Prajapatis, having been nicely instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, worship Lord Vishnu. After worshiping him by performing the prescribed sacrificial ceremonies, Daksha separately worshipped Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Now we're going to understand why he did that. Lord Vishnu should be offered everything, and his prasada should be distributed to all the demigods. This practice is still followed in the temple of Jagannath at Puri. And the prasada, which is offered first to Jagannatha, is distributed to all the demigods. The deities of Bhagalin is worshipped with the prasada of Vishnu. And also in the famous Shiva temple of Bhuvaneshwar, the prasada of Lord Vishnu or Lord Jagannatha is offered to the deity of Lord Shiva. This is the Vaishnava principle. Mm-hmm. The Vaishnava does not deride even ordinary living entities, including the small ants. Everyone is offered proper respect according to his position. The offering, however, is in relation to the center, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna or Vishnu. The devotee who is highly elevated sees the relationship to Krishna in everything. He does not see anything as being independent of Krishna. This is his vision of oneness. Yeah, so it's oneness in difference. Text 56. With all respect, Daksha worshipped Lord Shiva with his share of the remnants of the yajna. After finishing the ritualistic sacrificial activities, he satisfied all other demigods and the other people assembled there. Then, after finishing all these duties with the priests, he took a bath and was fully satisfied. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Rudra, Shiva, was properly worshipped with his share of the remnants of the yajna. Yajna is Vishnu, and whatever prasada is offered to Vishnu is offered to everyone, even to Lord Shiva. Sridhara Swami also comments in this connection. Srena Bhagena, the remnants of the yajna are offered to all the demigods and others. Text 57. Thus, worshipping the Supreme Lord Vishnu by the ritualistic performance of sacrifice, Daksha was completely situated on the religious path. Moreover, all the demigods who had assembled at the sacrifice blessed him that he might increase his piety, and then they left. Purport. Although Daksha was considerably advanced in religious principles, he awaited the blessings of the demigods. Thus, the great sacrifice conducted by Daksha ended in harmony and peace. Ah, that's what we want to hear. Harmony and peace. Text number 58. Maitreya said, I have heard that after giving up the body she had received from Daksha, Dakshayani, his daughter, took her birth in the kingdom of the Himalayas. She was born as the daughter of Mena. I heard this from authoritative sources. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Mena is also known as Menaka and is the wife of the king of the Himalayas. Text 59. Ambika, goddess Durga, who was known as Dakshayini or Sati, again accepted Lord Shiva as her husband. Just as different energies of the Supreme Personality Godhead act during the course of a new creation. So Ambika, goddess Durga, who was known as Dakshayini or Sati, again accepted Lord Shiva as her husband. So after she committed suicide, she reappeared again as the wife of Lord Shiva. So she again accepted Lord Shiva as her husband, just as different energies of the Supreme Personality Godhead act during the course of a new creation. That's a nice statement. According to a verse of the Vedic mantras, Parasya Saktir Vividaiva Shruyate, the Supreme Personality Godhead has different varieties of energies. Shakti is feminine, and the Lord is Purusha, masculine. It is the duty of the female to serve under the Supreme Purusha. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, all living entities are marginal energies of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is the duty of all living entities to serve this Supreme Person. Durga is the representation in the material world of both the marginal and external energies. You know, notice it doesn't say internal, it just says marginal and external energies. And Lord Shiva is the representation of the Supreme Person. The connection of Lord Shiva and Ambika or Durga is eternal. Sati could not accept any husband but Lord Shiva. How Lord Shiva remarried Durga as Himavati, the daughter of the Himalayas, and how Kartikeya was born is a great story in itself. Well, I think we're going to hear more about that. Text 60. Maitreya said, my dear Vidura, I heard this story of Daksha Yagna, which was devastated by Lord Shiva from Uddhava, a great devotee and a disciple of Brihaspati. Text 61. The great sage Maitreya concluded, if one hears and again narrates with faith and devotion this story of the Daksha Yagya as it was conducted by the Supreme Personality Godhead Vishnu, then certainly one is cleared of all contamination of material existence, O son of Kuru. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 7th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Sacrifice Performed by Daksha. Haribol. Okay. Let's go to chapter 8. Dhruva Maharaj leaves home for the forest. Text number 1. The great sage Maitreya said, the 4 great Kumara sages, headed by Sanaka, as well as Narada, Ribu, Hamsa, Aruni, and Yati, all sons of Brahma, did not live at home, but became Urdhva Reta, or Naistika brahmacharis, unadulterated celibates. Well, they didn't stay at home. They are Naistika brahmacharis, meaning they go everywhere and preach Krishna consciousness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The system of brahmacharya has been current since the birth of Brahma. A section of the population, especially male, did not marry at all. Instead of allowing their semen to be driven downwards, they used to lift the semen up to the brain. They are called Urdhva Ritasha, those who lift up. Semen is so important that if, by the yogic process, one can lift the semen up to the brain, he can perform wonderful work. One's memory is enabled to act very swiftly, and the duration of life is increased. Yogis can thus perform all kinds of austerity with steadfastness and be elevated to the highest perfectional stage, even to the spiritual world. Vivid examples of brahmacharis who accepted this principle of life are the 4 sages, Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumara, as well as Narada and others. Another significant phrase here is Naitik Grihan Hi Avasan. They did not live at home. Griha means home as well as wife. In fact, home means wife. Let's see. One who lives with a wife lives at home. Otherwise, a sannyasi or brahmachari, even though he may live in a room or in a house, does not live at home. That they did not live at home means that they did not accept a wife. And so there was no question of their discharging semen. Semen is meant to be discharged when one has a home, a wife, and the intention to beget children. Otherwise, there's no injunction for discharging semen. These principles were followed from the beginning of creation, and such brahmacharis never created progeny. This narration has dealt with the descendants of Lord Brahma from Manu's daughter, Prasuti. Prasuti's daughter was Dakshayani, or Sati, in relation to whom the story of the Daksha Yajna was narrated. Maitreya is now explaining about the progeny of the sons of Brahma. Out of the many sons of Brahma, the brahmachari sons, headed by Sanaka and Narada, did not marry at all, and therefore there's no question of narrating the history of their descendants. Well, they don't have any descendants. So what's really very, very important here is to understand the value of semen. Uh, if semen is used only for procreating, then the after that, semen goes upward to the brain and makes the brain very fertile and very, let's say, spiritually conscious. But if we drop semen on a regular basis, like so many people do in the material world, then they become basically dull, because and their health is not so good, and they shorten their lifespan. So the retention of semen is very important. It should only be used to have children. Otherwise, it should not be spilled, because it uh, invigorates the whole body when it is not spilled. So this understanding of semen is very important. It's not taught in schools. It's not in modern schools. And because of that, often, teenagers and adults, they'll waste semen, thinking that it is a source of happiness, but actually it's bringing people closer to death every time they waste their semen. And you can tell uh, whoever is wasting semen, they become dull. Their eyes are not full of shine and brightness, and they are a little bit prone more to sleep, and they are not able to understand higher order philosophical concepts. Why? Because they're wasting all their spiritual energy by losing semen. So devotees learn the process of uh, raising semen through the raising semen up to the brain and making the brain fertile. And nonsense people, they lose the semen by letting it go downward and wasting it. This is not taught in schools. But in Krishna consciousness, we talk about this because it's very important. Semen is the life source. It invigorates the body and consciousness. And when it's wasted, it really is what you would call a waste of energy. So uh, there's a lot more to be said about this. That's why children should be taught the value of celibacy until marriage. And even in marriage, there's also celibacy. They only use their semen for having children. They do not waste it at all. That way, they live longer, they're, they live more healthy, and they are actually more happy because they won't get sick so much, and they have energy to engage in Krishna's service. The people that waste semen, they're not so interested in spiritual life at all. They're just interested in having illicit sex, and they're just wasting their semen. Semen is very important. It is uh, the substance that maintains the vitality of the human being. And when semen is wasted, that vitality is also diminished. And sometimes, not sometimes, it leads to shortening lifespan. Okay, so we'll go on chapter 8. Dhruva Maharaj leaves home for the forest. Oh, by the way, any questions? Yes.
So, Maharaj, you had mentioned this is not taught in schools. So, what is like primary reason? Because they are giving specific education about health. So, why they are excluding this most important information from that like whole subject of health? Like,
Why they do that? Well, because they're demons. They think that wasting semen is good because they think it makes you happy, right? But actually, it shortens your lifespan, and whatever happiness you feel, it only lasts for a few seconds, and then you feel exhausted. Right? So, because you're losing by losing semen purposely, you're you're losing your uh, energy for uh, having a spiritual life, and you become dull, you become ultimately stupid. You know, some people don't understand that. They think, well, if they're wasting a lot of semen, it's good. They're having a lot of sex. They're enjoying life, but actually they're becoming dumber and dumber, and they're wasting their life's energy. So we can only feel sorry for people like that. When you conserve the semen, you are uh, more physically and mentally happy, and you have energy to engage in Krishna consciousness. You don't have to sleep a lot. You can control your eating and sleeping, and you can have a much better life. Let's put it like that. And you have the better ability to understand higher order spiritual philosophy. Someone is wasting semen, they become dull, and they're not interested in Krishna consciousness. They're interested in having more sex. So they basically waste their life, and they shorten the duration of life. Yeah. Okay, so we will go ahead now with chapter 8. Dhruva Maharaj leaves home for the forest. The great sage Maitreya said, the four great Kumaras, sages, headed by Sanaka, as well as Narada, Ribu, Hamsa, Aruni, and Yati, all sons of Brahma, did not live at home, but became Urdhva Reta, or Naistika brahmacharis, unadulterated celibates. Why does it say unadulterated celibates? Because they never waste their semen. They're Naistika brahmacharis. They'll never get married, and they will never waste their semen. Yeah, actually, when people, when young people are uh, agitated sexually, they have wet dreams. But when you become serious about Krishna consciousness and not always thinking about, having sex, those wet dreams go away. It doesn't happen anymore. But if you're always thinking about sex, you have wet dreams. You can't control it. So uh, we should teach kids to conserve or to save their semen, not to lose it and waste it. Okay, so chapter 8, Dhruva Maharaj leaves home for the forest. The great sage Maitreya said the four great Kumaras sages, headed by Sanaka, as well as Narada, Ribu, Hamsa, Aruni, and Yati, all sons of Brahma, did not live at home, but became Urdhva Rita, or Naistika brahmacharis, in other words, unadulterated celibates. Purport. The system of brahmacharya has been current since the birth of Brahma. A section of the population, especially male, did not marry at all. Instead of allowing their semen to be driven downwards, they used it to lift the semen up to the brain. They are called Urdhva Ritasha, those who lift up. Semen is so important that if by the yogic process one can lift the semen up to the brain, he can perform wonderful work. One's memory is enabled to act very swiftly, and the duration of life is increased. Yogis can thus perform all kinds of austerity and steadfastness and be elevated to the highest perfectional stage, even to the spiritual world. Vivid examples of brahmacharis who accepted this principle of life are the four sages, Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumara, as well as Narada and others. Another significant phrase here is Naitigrihan ki avasan. They did not live at home. Griha means home as well as wife. In fact, home means wife. Home does not mean a room or a house. One who lives with a wife lives at home. Otherwise, a sannyasi or brahmachari, even though they may live in a room or in a house, does not live at home. That's a very good statement. Because home means a wife. Right? Otherwise, it says here, there is no injunction. Let's see. It says that one who lives with a wife lives at home. Otherwise, a sannyasi or brahmachari, even though they may live in a room or in a house, does not live at home. That they did not live at home means that, or in a means that they did not accept a wife. And so there was no question of their discharging semen. Semen is meant to be discharged when one has a home, a wife, and the intention to beget children. Otherwise, there is no injunction for discharging semen. These principles were followed from the beginning of creation, and such brahmacharis never created progeny. The narration was dealt with the descendants of Lord Brahma from Manu's daughter Prasuti. Prasuti's daughter was Dakshayani or Sati, in relation to whom the story of Daksha Yagya was narrated. Maitreya is now explaining about the progeny of the sons of Brahma. Out of the many sons of Brahma, the brahmachari sons, headed by Sanaka and Narada, did not marry at all, and therefore there was no question of narrating the history of their descendants. Well, they didn't have descendants, so there's nothing to talk about. So what's very important here is what is not taught in schools, or maybe I'm wrong. Of course, in schools they have sex training, right?
So
but it's not like
education,
this.
education.
It's not about preserving semen. What's that?
They call it sex education.
Yeah. Their sex education is how to have safe sex. It's not about how to conserve your semen. It's about how to have safe sex. It's basically nonsense. So, to come back to this question, this very interesting point, it says, semen is meant to be discharged when one has a home, a wife, and the intention to beget children. Otherwise, there's no injunction for discharging semen. That is a very important statement. If we follow that statement, we'll be healthy, we'll be, let's say, able to think carefully, to be regulated in our behavior and activities, and be happy. It's when people discharge their semen unnecessarily, claiming it's pleasurable, but actually it's not pleasurable. You're actually diminishing your life vitality by engaging in losing semen for sense gratification. So, the sannyasi or brahmachari, even though they may live in a room or in a house, does not live at home. That they did not live at home means that they did not accept a wife. And so there was no question of their discharging semen. Semen is meant to be discharged when one has a home, a wife, and the intention to beget children. Otherwise, there's no injunction for discharging semen. These principles were followed from the beginning of creation, and such brahmacharis never created progeny. This narration has dealt with the descendants of Lord Brahma from Manu's daughter Prasuti. Prasuti's daughter was Dakshayani, or Sati, in relation to whom the story of Daksha Yagya was narrated. Maitreya is now explaining about progeny of the sons of Brahma. Out of the many sons of Brahma, the brahmachari sons, headed by Sanaka and Narada, did not marry at all, and therefore there's no question of narrating the history of their descendants. Okay. Text 2. Another son of Lord Brahma was Irreligion, whose wife's name was Falsity. From their combination, Irreligion and Falsity, were born two demons named Damba, or bluffing, and Maya, or cheating. I like the way this is written. These two demons were taken by a demon named Niruti, who had no children. Okay, so another son of Lord Brahma was Irreligion, whose wife's name was Falsity. From their combination were born two demons named Damba, or bluffing, and Maya, or cheating. These two demons were taken by a demon named Niriti, who had no children. Okay, let's find out what she did with them. Purport. It is understood herein that Adama, irreligion, was also a son of Brahma, and he married his sister Marisha. This is the beginning of sex life between brother and sister. Oh my God, what a subject that is. Brother and sister. It happens. It happens today also that the brother and sister have sex. It's a very bad thing. This unnatural combination of sex life can be possible in the human society only where there is adharma, or irreligion. It is understood that in the beginning of creation, Brahma created not only saintly sons like Sanaka, Sanatana, and Narada, but also demonic offsprings like Niriti, Adama, Damba, and Falsity. Everything was created by Brahma in the beginning. Regarding Narada, it is understood that because his previous life was very pious and his association very good, he was born as Narada. Others were also born in their own capacities according to their backgrounds. The law of karma continues birth after birth, and when there is a new creation, the same karma comes back with the living entities. They are born in different capacities according to karma, even though their father is originally Brahma, who is the exalted qualitative incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so you see, everything is being created by by Lord Brahma, and even irreligion is being created by him, and uh, even demons are being created by him. So, from the combination, uh, it says another son of Lord Brahma was irreligion, whose wife's name was Falsity. From their combination were born two demons named Damba and bluffing, and Maya, or cheating. These two demons were taken by a demon named Niriti, who had no children. Wow. So, let me read this one more time. It is understood herein that Adharma, irreligion, was also a son of Brahma, and he married his sister, Risha. Wow, this is something that is completely forbidden today, to marry your own sister. This is the beginning of sex life between brother and sister. This unnatural combination of sex life can be possible in human society only where there is adharma, or irreligion. It goes on today also. The brother and sister, they have sex. It's not a common thing. It's not like everybody's doing that, but it does happen. It is understood that in the beginning of creation, Brahma created not only saintly sons like Sanaka, Sanatana, and Narada, but also demonic offspring like Nirvritti, Adharma, Damba, and Falsity. Everything was created by Brahma in the beginning. So all the demoniac personalities were also created by Brahma. Now you might say, why did he do that? Well, because he's only giving people who had that tendency in previous life another chance to have a life and maybe become engaged in Krishna consciousness. Okay, so everything was created by Brahma in the beginning. Regarding Narada, it is understood that because his previous life was very pious and his association very good, he was born as Narada. Others were also born in their own capacities according to their backgrounds. The law of karma continues birth after birth. And when there is a new creation, the same karma comes back with the living entities. They are born in different capacities according to karma, even though their father is originally Brahma, who is the exalted qualitative incarnation of the Supreme Personality of God. So this, let's get it straight, that people do not really die. They simply change their bodies. And with the change of the body, they inherit or they get their karma from previous life. So how to break that cycle of birth and death and there's a carryover from previous life of your karma. How to break that cycle? It can only happen by associating with genuine devotees and learning from them how to become Krishna conscious. Otherwise, one stays in that cycle forever. Why? Because our soul is eternal. So we can forever be in the material world suffering unnecessarily, or we can be liberated in the spiritual world eternally and be happy and have a life of love and devotion for Krishna. So either way, we're still eternal. Okay, so the important statement here is the law of karma continues birth after birth. And when there is a new creation, the same karma comes back with the living entities. They are born in different capacities according to karma, even though their father is originally Brahma, who is the exalted qualitative incarnation of Supreme Personality God. So, as soon as we take birth in this world, we are under the control of the law of karma. And karma means whatever you have done in previous life, it's carried over to the next life. Can you break this carryover cycle? Yes, and by becoming Krishna and becoming akarmic. No karmic behavior, only engaging in Krishna conscious activities where there's no karma anymore. But if we have the tendency to engage in sense gratification, then we get over and over again the curse of karma that keeps us in the material world. So it says here, the law of karma continues, birth after birth. And when there is a new creation, the same karma comes back with the living entities. They are born in different capacities according to karma, even though the father is originally Brahma. who is the exalted, qualitative incarnation of the Supreme Personality Godhead. So this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease is the, what would say, the playground of karma. So it's only by Krishna consciousness that we can break away from that cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease, and live an akarmic life, which means only engaging in Krishna consciousness, and no more developing karma, which is a reaction that keeps you in the material world. Karma means action. So when you act for sense gratification, you get trapped in the cycle of karmic behavior. So he says the law of karma continues birth after birth. And when there is a new creation, the same karma comes back with the living entities. They are born in different capacities according to karma, even though their father is originally Brahma, who is the exalted qualitative incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's actually very difficult to become free from karma. But we can be trained to engage in akarma. That means you're acting, but there's no karmic reaction. So what is that? That is pure devotional service. Now there is no karmic reaction. So how to perform pure devotional service? You have to associate with pure devotees, just like Prabhupada. If Prabhupada did not come, we wouldn't know what it means to be karmic. We'd be always engaged in karmic activity, gratifying our senses. Only because Prabhupada came and established. In the beginning, Prabhupada didn't even speak about rules and regulations. So after a little while, one devotee asked Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, are there any rules and regulations in Krishna consciousness? Prabhupada said, oh, yes, there are. And then he wrote down on a piece of paper, and we should have a copy of that paper and put it on the wall.
Yes, ma'am.
The regulations that you have to follow. And as soon as Prabhupada pasted that on the wall, the devotee that asked him, he regretted it because now they had to follow the rules and regulations. In the beginning, Prabhupada didn't talk about rules and regulations. He just talked about have plenty of prasadam, chant Hare Krishna, and dance, and be happy. So when that one devotee asked him, are there any rules and regulations? Oh, yes, there are. And then he wrote,
Yes.
the 10 principles of devotional service.
Yeah, there is a print of the paper, Maharaj.
Huh?
There is a print of the paper, 10 rules of Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, right there. Yeah, okay. Okay, that's good. Haribol. All right, text number 4. O greatest of all good men, by the combination of Kali and harsh speech were born children named Mrityu, death, and Briti, fear. Now that's a beautiful statement there. Harsh speech. The combination of Kali and harsh speech. So we should never, as devotees, engage in harsh speech. Karmis do it all the time. And you can see that there's arguing, and there's fighting, and there's cursing. It's all over the place, But this harsh speech is will leads to what? Death and fear. And from the combination of death and fear came children named Yatana, excessive pain, and Niraya, hell. That's what happens when we engage in harsh speech. So we should never get so angry that we engage in harsh speech, because it leads to death, fear, and eventually excessive pain and hell. Good thing we're reading this, and now we're learning a lot. Okay, and we'll just stop there. Are there any questions? Any questions? Yeah.
No questions yet.
No questions. All right.
So, Maharaj, generally people do use harsh speech when they are very angry.
Yeah.
That I've observed. So basically, it's all about anger.
Yeah. It leads to fear and death, because they can't control their mind. And then there'll be excessive pain and hell. It's all a progression. You don't want to go down that path. You want to stay away from that. And here it says, a little bit ironically, it says, "O greatest of good men." By the combination of Kali and harsh speech were born children named Mrityu, death, and Biti, fear. From the combination of Mrityu and Biti came children named Yatana, excessive pain, and Niraya, hell. Wow. Now we're seeing this every day in life in this world today. This harsh speech and fear, death, and excessive pain and hell. We're seeing it every day today in society. And it's all unnecessary. But because people are not properly educated, they're unnecessarily suffering by developing these bad habits. Okay, I think we'll stop right there. The next verse is very interesting, and there's a lot of information in it that it takes time to explain it all. So we'll wait for tomorrow. Okay, so our takeaway today. Our takeaway. We're seeing the genesis of all bad behavior in the world. And in text 3, it says, "O great soul," Maitreya is speaking to Vidura, and he says, "From Damba and Maya were born greed and Nikriti, or cunning. From their combination came children named Krodha, anger, and Himsa, envy. And from their combination were born Kali and his sister Durupti, harsh speech." And then before that it said, "Another son of Brahma was irreligion, whose wife's name was falsity. From their combination were born two demons named Damba and bluffing, and Maya, or cheating. These two demons were taken by a demon named Niriti, who had no children. So see, this is the genesis of nonsense people and nonsense behavior in this world. All right, so we will go over this tomorrow. I'm going to read this again from the beginning of chapter 8. It's very important to understand the genesis of all the misery and cheating and lying in the world today. Okay, so thank you very much. Please chant Hare Krishna and keep yourself free from all bad behaviors, especially harsh speech. And harsh speech, when you're actually angry and raising your voice and talking, in a menacing way, and it's very, very non-Krishna conscious. You should never stoop down to such a low level of consciousness where there's harsh speech and yelling and threatening and anger and eventually hatred. It's hellish existence. Real devotees do not stoop down to such behavior. Okay, Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We'll go over this again tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. No harsh speech, no violent behavior, no nonsense. The nonsense is the beginning of harsh speech and violent behavior. Okay, thank you.